talking with Dr. Ellen Kindelsperger. I just call her Ellen. She's an ex-college track athlete, turned Olympic weightlifter, turned trail runner, and she's an entrepreneur with her own chiropractic business and fitness coaching business. So, before I pass out, let's hang out with Ellen. All right, today I've got Dr. Ellen Kindelsperger here with me. Ellen, thank you so much for taking the time and for hanging out with me today.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to kind of dive into your athletic endeavors, from like your college track days to your CrossFit Olympic lifting to now your long distance trail running stuff. Let's start with your life as like a college track athlete. I know you did track in college. I believe it was the University of Northern Iowa. Is that right?
In Northern Iowa, got it. Yeah, I grew up doing a lot of sports, but track was kind of my jam. And I got the opportunity to run for Northern Iowa. And I went there as a 400-meter runner and got to do that, and dabbled in the 800 as well, and got to be on the 4x4 team there.
Nice. So what was the training like being a track athlete in college?
Fairly intense, but it was amazing. And you're basically a family, the whole track team. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, the training between being a 400-meter runner and an 800-meter runner, that was very, very different. A lot more volume, a lot more intensity, and actually was kind of a turning point for me in college. So I actually, at that time, started having a bunch of swollen joints. So my right knee, both ankles, and my left wrist, and that coincided with that transition into that increased stressor on my body. And long story short, they found out that I had psoriatic arthritis, and that stressor kind of expressed that gene in me. And so that was kind of a turning point for me. And having swollen joints doesn't really help your whole running career.
I know that you had thought it was like tendonitis right at first.
I was misdiagnosed. They put me in a boot on the ankle that was worse, and then shot me up with cortisone in my left wrist and my right knee. And I actually had an adverse reaction to the cortisone. I had something called fat atrophy, which means that all the fat surrounding the injection site went away. What? My wrist just kind of like looked like this for 2 years, and same thing with my knee. Just everything went away. It was basically skin overlaying my bones.
That's frightening.
Strange.
So I know that, you found that out, and then you kind of made some changes to your diet.
Okay.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. I've had psoriasis, the skin disorder, since I was about 3. And you always kind of have it. You need to have something in your life that expresses a gene that turns on the gene, and then you know that you have this autoimmune disorder. And so I had this skin disease present since I was really young. So I already knew that about myself. And then, growing up, most of it was on my scalp, and the doctors, all they told me was to use steroid cream and sunshine, which it's kind of hard to get sunshine to reach your scalp. So there seemed to be limited knowledge on what psoriasis was and what you could do about it. And so for me, I just thought steroids were the answer, and that was kind of it. But then I got to college, had all these swollen joints, and I actually figured it out myself while I was sitting in that boot and had a lot of extra time. I just, went into the Google rabbit hole of, what else could this be? Because I knew even after a month or so that my range of motion and my ankles weren't getting any better. They were very stiff, and my dorsiflexion, or the ability to bring my toes towards my shin, was severely limited, even with all this rest. And tendonitis should get better with rest, called psoriatic arthritis, and that 15% of psoriasis sufferers have the arthritic form. And so I brought this up to my orthopedic doctor, and he's like, "Oh, that's probably it."
Thanks.
Thanks. Awesome, genetic jackpot. But I went to a rheumatologist, and then I was diagnosed with the correct diagnosis. To answer your question, though, I was fed up with the treatment that I had. So the cortisone didn't work. The steroid creams, it was like a Band-Aid. My skin would get better, but then it would just, come back when I stopped using the cream. And just putting steroids on your skin is not ideal. I was looking for a more natural alternative, and my mom at that time found this book called Healing Psoriasis: The Natural Alternative by John Pagano. And it's basically a elimination diet. So you take everything out, and what you're left with is vegetables and fish. You eat very boringly for a couple months, and the idea is to let the lining of your gut heal, assuming that any like psoriasis and eczema are leaky gut disorders. And I use parentheses because depending on who you talk to, leaky gut isn't real. But what I know is that it's real for me, and it works. So I really don't give a crap what other people think. After going on that elimination diet, after having skin lesions for, at that time, about 17 years, they went away in 2 weeks.
Holy cow. That's incredible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that go along with having scales all over your body as a kid.
Yeah.
And having like the dusty shoulders and like the picking and everything, and that would have changed a lot of things growing up, knowing this. But I am very happy that I found it at that time.
Sure.
Yeah, so it helped the skin lesions a lot. I still had 3 years of track, so I couldn't really rest too much from the stressor of having to be a D1 athlete. So it did help my joints, but the real healing didn't really start until after I was done with track, and then all the swelling kind of went away after that.
Gotcha. Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's incredible to be able to find out that elimination diet and how nutrition plays a huge role in like our health, right?
Yeah. And so to round that out, for me, it was lactose that was my gut lining. And I grew up in Illinois, and then I ran for Northern Iowa. It's very Midwestern. And so milk and bread, I thought at that time I thought it was gluten as well. Turns out it's not. But milk is in absolutely everything that you have. So it was a very dramatic change for me. It's not, my results aren't going to be the same for everyone. I just want to put that out there. But I did have a dramatic shift in what I experienced, and very, very grateful, because it's easy. Because it's natural. You just avoid the thing.
For sure. You're not like on a medication. Yeah.
Instead of injecting or slathering on steroids. So.
Totally. The natural way. I like it. That's so awesome. So then let's kind of fast forward a little bit. You're done with college track. You take a little break from running, and then you start getting into CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting. How did you kind of get into that?
I got into Olympic weightlifting first, mainly because I was just looking for something that was kind of aggressive, I guess. I miss track, and I miss being powerful and being a sprinter, but I had run for so long that I wanted like a different flavor. And so I was in the Bay Area out in California, and I was at chiropractic school at Palmer West, and I just looked at a map, and I looked to see what was local, and Catalyst Athletics was just down the street, and then there was CrossFit, I think NorCal, and so it's pretty much between those two on which one I would decide. And Catalyst had a deal where you can come twice a week for like a lesser price. And being a student, I was like, well, that's cheaper. So that's why I did.
Nice.
So how did your training change from like being a collegiate track athlete to then starting to get into Olympic weightlifting?
It's very different, I guess, mainly because Olympic lifting, you kind of like show up, you do your lifts, and then you get out. It feels really good. It's very intense for the amount of time that you're there. But I kind of miss the camaraderie that the track team had. So I guess maybe like the social aspects were different. But I quickly learned that I had a lot of things wrong with me, and Olympic lifting actually helped me a lot with that. I was a very tight person, and I think running kind of hammers whatever tightness you have into your body, because running is very repetitive and it's not really at your end range of motion. Right. Whereas Olympic lifting, it exposes everything that's wrong. When I first started, I couldn't really sit down into a full squat, and my dorsiflexion was still not very good, not just because of my psoriatic arthritis, but because I've been sprinting, plantar flexing.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So, and just core control and glute activation. And yeah, it was kind of humbling how bad I was. But I'm very competitive too. So I think it took a little bit of maturing to be like, well, you're not going to be good at this. Still not good at it because it takes so long.
Oh yeah, years.
It is such a highly skilled sport, and so I love watching it because I know how much time and effort it takes to be really good at it.
Absolutely. So did you ever compete in any CrossFit or Olympic weightlifting events?
Didn't in the Olympic lifting, but I did a couple of CrossFit competitions. But when I moved out to Colorado, I dropped the CrossFit, and mainly because I opened a business, and moving to Boulder, there's a lot more opportunity with endurance athletes, and I just kind of fell into that world, and so I've been transitioned into more endurance.
So let's talk about that then, because you went from Olympic weightlifting, which is a very like short burst, powerful activity, to now you started to get into long distance trail running. So what made you want to get into that?
Well, rather reluctantly, because my body is not naturally good at it, but I enjoy challenges and kind of delving into that. But when I first moved out here, I volunteered to crew for an Italian runner at Leadville, and I had someone translating, and it was wild, and it was really cool to see her do this 100-mile race, and
that's crazy.
And it was just a whole new world that I hadn't been exposed to. And at this race, I met Josh Miller, Primal Flow, and through him, I just met more people in the running community, and I recognized kind of a need for them in needing some training to supplement their endurance sport, but a lot of them are fearful of getting strong or getting bigger. And so I knew how to help these people and how to like calm their fears, because it takes a lot of effort to get strong.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Time, dedication,
and the way that you put the workouts together. And so it is my belief that running's going to make you better at running. But if you just only do that over time, you're going to dig yourself a hole, and you're going to find yourself with Achilles tendonitis, Haglund's deformity, plantar fasciitis, IT band syndrome, and once you have these symptoms, then it's kind of already too late. And so I've kind of just found that niche for me in this running community. Even though I'm not good at endurance running, I'm very powerful, but I know how to strength train, and I know how to do rehab programs, and I can be that connector for them.
Well, let's not put you down, because let's dig into what you did as an ultra runner, which is you decided to do a 50K ultra run for your 30th birthday, which I was there for. So how did you decide to do a 50K? And then how did you kind of adjust your training to get to that goal?
Well, I wanted to do an ultra race so I could understand my clients more. And I wanted to get out of the gym. And it's such a wonderful way to go see Colorado. And I was like, basically, fuck it, let's do it. And a 50K is the shortest ultra that you can do.
Short.
Depending on who you talk to, like some people are like 50K is not a ultra, but in my book it was. And so I kind of wanted to make it not too far away and location wise. And so the one that I did and that you were there for was up in Lander, Wyoming, the rough and tumble 50K. And it was the same week of my 30th birthday. And so that's how I chose that one. And as far as training goes, I followed a program that was detailed in a book called Your First Ultra, and just followed that and did kind of like maintenance strength stuff and did it.
Nice. So what do you think actually running it? What was like the biggest struggle that you faced trying to get through that whole thing?
That one was more uphill than I had prepared for.
Yeah.
And so I think it just felt like a hiking race, just like power walking the whole time. Just being like, I remember thinking, man, I'd really like to run this. Knowing and being able to look at the gains of the race and better understanding what that means, and knowing that walking, I've been told prior to the race, but walking is a big part of ultra running. If you're kind of like not like at the top upper crust,
Right.
Even if you are, there will be times where it's just not runnable and you need to conserve your energy. And another thing was it gets lonely out there.
Yeah.
I was so glad to have you and Taylor and Al as my crew, because honestly, I just thought about you guys. I'm like, I'm gonna go see them. I'm gonna get like a kiss from my boyfriend and some bacon. Which you guys kept me very bacon. So it was really nice to have a crew and someone to look forward to, and knowing that you guys were there to support me on my 30th birthday. That was awesome. So
Heck yeah.
Other than that, I found that with ultra running and even with during your training, it's not difficult per se, as long as you just remember it's one step at a time. And it's not, I'll go on for a run, and like when I visited my mom, I went on a 12-mile run, and I come home and she's like, but you're not out of breath. I was like, well, no, it's a steady state, almost meditative process.
Right.
And so if you're able to stay calm and stick to your plan, you can do anything.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Heck yeah. That's great advice for anyone to do anything, really, one step at a time. Solid.
This is very different from how I was as a track athlete. I was very to the wall, go hard or go home. I might puke after the race. And I actually had a hard time with 800 because I try to be that way in 800 and you just can't.
Yeah, that's like a long sprint.
You're going to go through in like a 57 and then you're just kind of like just pulling teeth the last.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it's just kind of been also a maturity thing and adjusting your expectations.
Awesome. So would you do it again?
I'm doing it again.
What do you have on deck then for your athletic goals?
It's in late August, so I do think there is a chance that it's going to happen. It's the Transalkirk 100, but it's a stage race. And so it's 100 miles, but it's spread out over 5 days.
Piece of cake.
20 miles a day, and up in Banff, Canada. Banff is one of the most beautiful places on this earth. And I've been there a couple times from the Calgary side, but this is over in Revelstoke. And so I'm running this with a partner, Michelle Dillon, or Michelle Shock on Instagram. And it wasn't really on my radar, but I have a hard time saying no to things. And Michelle Michelle is a friend of mine, and she's also a client. I do her strength and rehab training. And one day she's like, do you want to do 100 miles with me and be my teammate? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And the race, we just looked at it, and like in effort, it looks like this. Like the third day is the worst, and then it.
Oh, geez. Gotcha.
Like each day is a peak, and so the peaks get bigger, and on the third day it's going to be the worst, and then it's going to taper off.
So that's the next athletic endeavor for you. Hopefully it happens.
A thing that I'm doing differently is I've hired a running coach instead of going out of a book. Because with a book, you there's value in having someone to, that's what I'm looking for, hold you accountable. And with a book, you're like, flip the page or be like, oh, no one knows I didn't do that. And not that I did that, but with having a real life human and someone to comment and to say, good job, or, oh, that hurt, maybe we can, or you're feeling really tired for 2 days after that run, maybe we should make some adjustments. And so Michelle's actually my running coach. I'm her strength coach. We're running it together. And so it's very symbiotic.
You are a strength coach. So let's kind of dive into your business entrepreneurial endeavors that you took on. So you're a chiropractor, an awesome chiropractor, but you decided to start your own business. So you decided to open your own chiropractic practice in a new place, not knowing a lot of people. So what was that experience like?
I was working out in California for a couple years after school in the Bay Area. And I just started having this feeling of wanting my own practice and kind of forming it into my dream and being able to blend all the things together that I would want to see in my own care as an athlete. And so I actually struggled for a while knowing where I wanted to move. I thought Oregon or Washington was the answer. I went up there and experienced the joys of seasonal depression. And so
not a lot of sunshine.
Colorado and Portland are awesome cities. And
for sure.
I just visited there during the summer and thought, this is magical. But then I did go up and live in Oregon for a bit, and the lack of sun really got to me. So I scratched that idea, and I'll just visit there. And so then it's kind of hard when you have a multitude of options. It's like walking into Forever 21 trying to find an outfit, and you're like, there's too many options. And so eventually I decided that I missed my friends, my two best friends who actually ran with in college, both lived in Denver. And so, Denver is such a hub for traveling, and I can even drive home to Illinois if I really want to. And so, and there's that liberalness and forward thinking and holistic thinking in this area that I was very drawn to, and just more accessibility to nature. Whereas in the Bay Area, it's beautiful, but the traffic there and everyone's just shoved into that tiny peninsula. It makes it very hard to get around. So I eventually just wanted to be by my friends. And then secondly, the environment just kind of fit the bill. So I was originally thinking about Denver, but then someone showed me Boulder. It's really nice. It's smaller, and I was just drawn to the area.
Awesome. So what were some of the big struggles that you faced when you were trying to start up the chiro business as an individual? Yeah, it was just you.
In Boulder itself, I knew one person. And so that was a huge obstacle. And the city itself is very, very saturated because it's so, I think because it's liberal and it's open to holistic healing. Not only are there a lot of chiropractors, there is just a shit ton of other stuff too. You have yoga, you have massage, acupuncture, a lot of different ways of exercise. So it's just a sea of awesome opportunities for clients. So you kind of have to stay calm and
Yeah.
just meet one person at a time. Find who you connect with. And for me, it was the endurance athletes, and give them a reason for coming to see you. And also with my clients, not only providing them the service, but also taking the time to go see them in action too. And so for the summer, I had the whole calendar lined up, and I was going to try to get to one race of each client. And I was, the funny thing is I had that email to send out to all my clients so we could all try to be there for each other. Like 2 days before COVID kind of just stopped everything. So I still have the email.
Yeah, I know. That's a bummer. But hopefully once this all clears up, it'll all work out.
I hope that there will be some fall races that I can go and support them. But just showing your clients that you care and that you're listening, and giving value to your product is kind of how I've been able to survive and grow in such a saturated field.
So then what kind of clients or types of athletes do you typically work with?
Okay. I would guess my main client would be an ultra runner between the age of 25 and 45.
Okay.
Before getting specific.
Yeah.
But really, anyone who is interested in running or climbing. So I'm inside the Boulder Rock Club, and I'm starting to delve in that world too, and I'm climbing more and starting to understand that. So also kind of dipping my toes into that. And then also I see myself as a connector between PT and real world. And so anyone who's had an injury or has had surgery and they did PT, but they're unsure what to do after PT is done and their insurance is done.
Gotcha.
Either because of fear, they don't believe that they're good enough to go back out and do whatever they're doing again. And so it's my job to kind of build from where they are and give them the confidence to know that you can go do that.
Yeah.
Or PT wasn't enough, and maybe they were just too focused on their foot and maybe not the whole system. Like, well, maybe you have hip stability that affected your knees, that affected your feet. So if you just go back to what you were doing, it's probably going to happen again. So ultra runners, post PT, want to return to the world, and climbers are my main jam.
So you also, in addition to being a chiropractor, you also are a fitness coach, and you provide like coaching for your patients as well as, these athletes and strength training components, corrective exercise. So how do you see those two kind of marrying together and working for you?
Yeah. So each client of mine who's on either, I have two ways of utilizing me, either 2 workouts per week, 8 workouts per month, or unlimited. They'll, for the first month, get a certain number of free chiropractic care. And so that way I can get my hands on them, maybe do a little more of a thorough exam on what might be going on with them, and then we can address it, and then I can make adjustments to their fitness programming as we move forward from that. I can also catch things as they happen, and before they become problems. So I'll notice something, or they'll communicate through TrueCoach, which is a platform that I use to send people their workouts. And I'll say, you know what, sounds like maybe you need a treatment. Let's go ahead and just take care of it now before it becomes a thing.
Awesome. I really like that combination. I think it works super well. So then as far as like your fitness coaching and then incorporating the strength training component, which you hit on a little bit earlier, how do you see like these runners, especially endurance athletes, really benefiting from adding that strength training component in?
Yeah, so I think we're going to prevent injury before it happens, or if something's currently happening, we're going to improve their running by addressing what's going on with them and making them more balanced or increasing mobility, so that they can express themselves in their training, so they can run, so they can be better runners from running. And I would say that the PT is like the underbelly of what supports their main activity.
Gotcha. So definitely injury prevention is a huge solid for these people. It's like you incorporate that strength training, it'll help them run better, less injuries.
Yeah. Cool.
Exactly.
So
You're clearly very passionate about what you do and you're very good at it. I love coming to see you. I always feel so much better. So what do you personally love about your job?
I love getting to work with people one-on-one, and I love when people have the aha moment. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had a climber I was basically the last straw for her and her husband. They both actually have the same thing going on. Must have been transmitted.
Wow.
Just rotator cuff issue, and they were almost convinced that they couldn't do anything about it, you know, other than maybe going to get a surgical consult. And I worked on them, and they're like, they basically want to hug me. And I love that moment where they finally figure it out. And I like making people feel like I'm a complement to their life and not a necessity. You know, I don't make people feel like they have to come in 3 times a week for the next 3 months and give me $5,000 at the start. You know, like that's not my style. I help people. I give them homework because I think that healing yourself is also part of the process. And so another part of what I like about my job is making people autonomous and their own healing. And then when they need me, they can come see me.
Awesome. That's incredible. What a great feeling, right? To like have that impact on people's lives. So let's let people know where they can find you on social media, website, physical location, so that they can come see you for chiro work, for fitness, strength work, whatever they want.
Sure. So I'm physically located in the Boulder Rock Club. That's on Mapleton Avenue. So 2829 Mapleton Ave, right behind the Whole Foods in Boulder. My website is www.thechirolab.com. My Instagram is _Chiro_Lab. My email is ellen@thechirolab.com.
And there you have it. So for everyone out there, if you are having any kind of issue physically, if you're a runner or any kind of athlete, honestly, endurance athlete, I don't care. Ellen is the chiropractor to see in Boulder, Colorado. And you also coach people remotely. So if you're looking for that as well, she is available remote online. So before we finish it, I want to leave people with your last piece of advice based off of your athletic past, current athletic endeavors, your entrepreneurial endeavors with a chiro business and the fitness coaching business. What's your last piece of advice that you'd like to let everyone know?
Surround yourself with people who believe in you and generally want to see you succeed.
Yes, I love that. I love the positivity that I like to surround. And you're a super positive person, Ellen. I love you so much. Thank you for joining me and hanging out with me today.
Yeah, thank you for the amazing interview.
Thanks so much, Ellen.
Bye, Rachel.